my pre-grad time. That's actually what Unive wants us to do. That way when we can go out, we already have them, and we don't have to waste time here. So basically, like the first time. So basically, the first time we get here, first 3-4 semesters, they tell you like, so what are you going to do after? That's like the classic question, Are you going to go to Spain, take admission, use United States, you use MLE step 1, step 2, like these big monsters. Also, or you're going to stay here, take the examen, the residencia americana. It's also, it's a viable option as well. So everyone that studies medicine at some point in their life is going to have to deal with this, some kind of big test that's going to sum up everything we've done in one thing and rank us about a lot of people and will actually open doors. And everything you do now actually will impact what you do, where you get and your results, believe it or not. A physiology class you read about in your book, a QBank you do now, will benefit you now because the younger we are, the better we process, and the more time we have to repeat materials. We'll see it more and more often. So today I'm not going to give you like a plan to how to study to an exam, but I'm going to kind of like to help you, we don't really have to take a step 1 or meet or any exam, but every week we have a partial, we have a quiz, a lab quiz, we have to do something, and we need to know how to deal with this. Because I know it's sometimes hard, we have a social life, we have to sleep, we have to eat, we have to study, we have to get to class, we have other things too, so it's very hard, and I know it. So when I first started here in 5th semester, I had to go from this transition, going to study maybe 4 to 5 days before a test, to studying 2 to 3 weeks before. I had to start organizing my time because I couldn't cram it all in, oh yeah, if we have a physiology test, cardiology, it's like 30 pages in Constanza, it's a lot of material. You have to be able to learn it, because the questions all the questions you're going to see from now on are going to, they're not going to be like in chemistry where you got like, what's this? What is no? They're this elaborate patient they will give you, sometimes having things that are or not possible. And you have to, maybe questions have 2 or 3 answers. Like you have to know something, to have another thing, to know the answer. And maybe if you already had gotten a test in the 5th semester and the 6th semester in physiology, like you've already experienced these kind of questions, right? Like you have to know the material. You can't just como que memory. I know the definition, I'll know. You have to know how to deploy it. So basically, when I started in the 5th semester, I started, this transition. So I learned to organize myself. That's the most important thing. Learn to organize yourself. If you organize, you can have a social life. You can go out every day. You don't have to stay up until 3 a.m. studying. That's not viable. Studying until 4 or 3 a.m. is not viable. Overnighters are not viable because you don't work. You need your REM. The REM actually makes everything stay. Like como que fija information. That's very important. So, I took physiology with Dr. Howley, and actually, it was very smooth. Like literally, I studied 2 to 3 weeks before. Maybe I did like 10 pages a day. I would do questions, and a week before, I already had all my information covered, and it was just review. Always say that very important before a test. Take 2 to 3 days that you already have covered all the material, and just review it. See it again, because this is something very important in medicine. We think that just by reading something you know it. That's inhumane, that's impossible. Medicine is based on repetition, and when you guys are studying for something like the steps or everything, you'll see that QBanks are repetitive. They will show the same patient with the same things, and we will get it wrong 2 to 3 times. I actually did a question 5 times, and I never got it right. I was correct, and I never got it right, because it's repetition, and there's things that we will always forget. So that's very important. Never, starting from now, if you want to know, you can actually, people think, oh, you're a medical student, you have a life. That's not true. That's not true. You organize yourselves, and you take, I'm not going to study 1 week before, study 2 to 3 weeks before. Plan yourself, take the syllabus, take the book, and organize yourself. So then, in my 8th semester, I decided I wanted to take my step 1. So, what do I do now? So I started doing the count. I remember that the first day I started, I was alone. I just started reading. And I do, my videos and the book and my chemistry and whatever. But I noticed that it was kind of clashing with my my grades here, my studying for my pathology classes, which I remember because I was reading that book, because I don't think you've seen it, but it's like this book of 2,000 pages, and I wanted to read it. It was like, how do I do this? So that was something I first learned, that I had to do a plan, do a schedule, from this time to this time I will do this. From this time to this time I will do this. My day was planned, the whole day was planned. Literally was planned. And actually allowed me to progress in my studies for my exam abroad, and actually, I was actually to learn the public and take my and be able on time for my classes. That's very important. So like time went on, and I was doing like sometimes we had 3 to 4 hours between classes. My classes will all go out to eat. Maybe I don't know. They went to a house to watch a movie. I stayed here studying because I had to study for my test abroad because my free time between classes I had to dedicate it to that because I always like remember, the time I invest now, I will have it free later. And that's a truth right now, Like right now I have much free time and they are starting to study for their step 1. I'm already over that. So that's very important. Always think that what you invest now is going to be better later. And let me say something. People will tell you like, you know what now? Here in basic sciences, it's impossible to study. It's wait for internado. That's not true. There's never time. There will never be a time if you're a medical student to have 6 to 8 hours to study. That's impossible. In a day, you will never have like 8 hours to study. It's ideal, but you will never have it. You have to look for it, make it. And also, for example, social life. You guys can have it. That's perfectly normal. Like you can have it and still be a very good medical student and learn. But there's time for everything. Learn to sacrifice. Maybe have 2 weekends of going to the beach. Well, one I'm not going. The other one I go. Learn to on Saturdays. Saturdays are the best days to study. Get up at 8 a.m. and you organize your whole day. It's perfect. So it's possible. Believe me, it's possible, but it just takes sacrifice and organization. That's it. So basically, okay. So when I started, I was looking like, the first thing you have to do is make a choice. Like, okay, if I want to take my lead, I don't know, or my step 1 on my 10th semester or my 11th semester, do a commitment. Literally, do it with your own self. It's not because your dad tells you, your brother, your teachers know. It's because you guys have to do it with yourself. It's a personal responsibility. And what you do now is like, I'm responsible for my success. What you do is what's going to impact on your future. Nobody else's one. It's what you guys do, and that's very important. So if you take the personal decision to start studying for something, do it. But don't go like, well, someone told me I have to study, so I'm going to do it. No, it won't mean anything. It's a very long path. It's a hard path. It's tiring sometimes. It's exhausting and it's frustrating. It is very, but you have to be like, see the goals. So you have like the meta that you put yourself. So what I said, you make a plan. Take a syllabus. And even this is also for like minor skills for a study test for physiology or I don't know a neuroanatomy, 6th semester, right? Okay, so sorry. So make a plan literally. So okay, so my test is in 3 weeks. You take your syllabus and you divide it. You take the book, what I'm going to do. That's very important. And you can have time for sleep, go to the gym. You always try to do that, make exercise or take some time free, because that's important. Sometimes if you're tired and you keep on reading and reading and reading, it's like literally carving something that's empty. There's nothing. You're tired. You're not going to get anywhere. You're not productive. So basically, the amount of time needed for studying will vary from each individual based on skills in the subject matter. This is something that happens a lot, and I'm seeing it over and over again, that we have classmates and we try to study at the same time. And not everyone is the same, and everyone learns different and a different way. Maybe they're better in something that you're not that better, and sometimes people get frustrated. Competition comes from it, and actually you start kind of lying to yourself that you know something just to prove together that you know it, but maybe you don't even know it. So that's very important, be aware that not everyone is the same. So again, it's a personal commitment. When you start something, it's because you want it, because you're responsible for it. Nobody else will be like, hey, you have to do this. No, nobody, because nobody actually, has that something that care that much about that. That's a personal thing. So always set aside hours for each day for study, and if you do a plan, stick to it. Don't oh no, you know what? I'm going to bed. No, stick to it. Drag yourself from bed and get up and study, or whatever is in your schedule, because you have to make a habit. When you do it for a week or 2, believe me, it becomes there's a constant this little voice in your head hey, it's time for that. Go, get up, and literally it becomes a habit. That's why you have to do a habit. This is an example actually of I actually had this in I believe my 9th semester. Yes, 9th semester. So I had to make a way to study for my step and for my classes and live a life. So I made this schedule that actually organized my day to day, and it actually works. So I just organize, first aid pages, classes, studying for my classes, doing Cubans, and then actually work a lot. Just like an example. And the most important thing, you can do whatever you want, however you want it, but you have to stick to it. That's the most important thing, and what I've seen that actually works. And I've actually had classmates that they kind of like start studying and they do the schedule, but they don't follow it. So if you do it and you follow it, great. But if you do it, you don't follow it, it's the same thing as not having it. So studies, and it is very important because sometimes you see people, and actually it works for many people, but when you get used to an environment, the less and less distracted it gets. So if you every day are used to studying in your house, in your desk, try to make everyday studying there. Like don't come one day to a library. Because for example, for me, like when I went to the library, I literally didn't do anything because I was so distracted with people around me. I wanted to talk to all the time. I wanted to like see people coming in, coming out. I lied to myself like, oh, I have to go something to a cafeteria. No, it was just procrastination. But if the library works for you, stick to the library. Like what sticks for you, works for you, do it. And go there every day or every time you're going to study. Don't change that much because the more distracted, the more changing the environment is, the more distracted you will get. So, same time, same place, every day. Not same time because sometimes it will vary, but try to be consistent with your study times. And also something very important, make sure it has everything you need. Because this is something that, it happens to a lot of people, like you launch yourself like, oh, I need to get, I don't know, a glass of water, and you get up. Oh, I forgot I have to get my cell phone somewhere. And you start like coming in and out, just, like to actually pushing it back, they need to study. At the end, you don't even sit down and study for 25 minutes or 40 minutes straight. You like get up, get down, get up, get down. It's kind of lying to yourself. That's very important. A cluttered desk is a cluttered mind. Keep it as organized as possible. That's also, for me it works, and for many people I say it works. But that's kind of very varies. And try to keep it, steady. This is something very important. When you're studying for something, it's like a very, it's a long path, like for the step or whatever. You won't be inspired every day. That's not true. You stay with us, you'll be tired. You won't want to. You're like, it's useless. Where it's taking me. And you have to be aware of this. You won't have any inspiration. You'll be like, you know what? I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. You literally ignore that. So it will be tough, and you will be tired, and there will be 100 reasons why not to study. Sometimes when we're doing Cubans, and maybe you got that grade, you were not expecting it. Some things that will bring you down. You're like, oh my God, I have like 5 months here doing the same thing, and I'm getting the same grades. What do I do? Don't stop studying. Inspiration won't be there every day, believe me. We have to study too many things. It's a lot of material, it's tiring, and you won't be inspired every day. But at the end, it's worth it. So create a rigorous routine, I just previously mentioned, and despite everything else, push yourself to study under any circumstance every day. Like push yourself, don't wait for another person to do it because they won't even be able to. Remember at the end, it will come. And the time is never right. As I said before, we're medical students, we have a lot of classes, a lot of things. We may have like a class in the morning, a class in the evening, our day is kind of like segmented, and it's only weekends actually you have like 8 hours or 10 hours, and not even that. So you have to be able to, have a break of 4 hours, don't go home and take a nap, stay studying here. Así you will como que ver el tapón, you don't have to take it. So if you have, for example, como que try to efficient, como que make the time you have, make the best of it. And challenge yourself, try to, something also very important is that, as I mentioned, when you're like trying to study with someone else and maybe that person is getting something better, a better result, don't compete with that other person, compete with yourself. Like yesterday I got a 60, well, I don't want to get a 65 today. Compete with yourself. We're all different, and the fact that someone has maybe better results in something doesn't mean we're not better in something else. That's very important. Because competition becomes a very big deal in this career, and sometimes it actually affects our outcomes. So when we go, for example, you have a physiology test, for example, and you have to read 2 whole chapters. Say, don't make it like, oh my God, I have to read 70 pages. No. You have to divide it in a set of like meetings, like every day comes with its own battles. Don't try to take everything in one day. That's literally impossible as a human. You can't read 70 pages and learn 70 pages in a day. So you say, okay, I'm going to divide it in 7 pages a day. I'm going to do 1 section a day. So that section, you learn it. Just make sure you learn that 1 section. but don't try to learn the whole chapter in one day. And that's what happens when you try to cram it in 3 days. That's impossible. You don't learn it, you know. Maybe you know something, but you don't learn it. And the same thing when you're studying for something like the step 1, maybe like, oh my god, I have to learn this, you know, all this material. No, you don't have to. You will have to, but take every day with its battle. Today I have to do a chapter of biochemistry. Do that chapter and make the best of it. Learn it. Learn that chapter. Tomorrow you will deal with what comes tomorrow. That's very important because it's very overwhelming, you know, when you're starting and you're like, oh my god, how am I going to get there? It's so long, it's so much material. Take it slow, you know. Okay, break it down in goals and every day comes with the battle, so make sure that that day you accomplish your goals. So sometimes what it worked for me, that instead of, when I was very cluttered with classes and tests, what I did, instead of doing a schedule, or what's a little kind of pushing myself, I divided my days in goals. So okay, so every day I decided to try to make a Q-bank, read 10 pages of first aid, and go over my flashcards. Any time that I could, I had to do that. Not do a schedule, because sometimes schedules are impossible, and that's actually, because we have a lot of things to do. Y don't try to take it all at once. So when it comes to study techniques, always try, like I did this my whole basic sciences, I always try to read the book. I don't trust reviews. I think reviews are kind of like vague. And remember that if you have a good grasp of material the first time you read it, then when you review it, it's better. And when in the long run, it will be better because you will remember the book, the theory, the information, where it comes from. So it's very important. Try always to read the book. I know that sometimes it's impossible, like it's too long and it's too long. No, that's a very good review. So maybe there, but always try to go to the source, the book that you actually recommended to read. It helps you comprehension and lifelong learning. There's this thing that says that if you're able to explain it to someone else or explain it to yourself, you know it. So you can actually try to help someone. I actually tried to teach my classmates physiology when I was in physiology, and it actually helped because when I taught them, I learned it. Use different sources, that's very important as well, and study format. Like, for example, you can do, there's something very important when it comes to studying. So you read books, right? But you can also do Q&As. When you do a Q&A, this is very important. You're not assessing yourself. It's a different way of learning. It's a way of active learning, but it's not an assessment. We have MBMEs, or I don't know, or actually assessment and tests that assess our disenrollment in a chapter or whatever. But Q&As are ways of learning. So if you get one day at 40, don't be disappointed. That just means you didn't know that information. That doesn't mean you don't know it. It doesn't mean that you're like in that level. It's a new way of learning, and it's actually one of the best ways. So even for pathology, physiology, well, for anatomy, we used it. You can do questions in Q&As, and they're really good ones on the internet. And I know that Dr. Halvey also gives you like really good sources for questions. So also flashcards are very good, good way of review. So after you read books, then you can go to read the review. That way, you know, you can, because reviews are not to learn. They're kind of like to remember, to remind yourself. Question mark, well, I just tell you that it's a different way of learning. It's how you practice. Because remember that here, we don't have, it's not like math or like when we took biology, that it will ask like, what's this? No, you have to employ the information. You have to be able to take it, digest it, and apply it to a kind of question and that prove that, you know, that reflects your knowledge. So questions banks are very good to assess yourself, you know, not assess it, like kind of like see where you are, but at the same time learning. That's important. And when you always do a Q&A, always remember to review it. Because sometimes even if it's right, maybe what they were thinking is not what you were thinking, and you're actually wrong. You know, you just had it because you thought something that was wrong. That's very important. So actually, this works also for when you're studying for your parciales, finales, but also when you're studying for some kind of big test abroad, your boards. The question banks actually are like 50% of the study format. Every day you have to do a Q&A every day because it's a way that you're integrating other topics and learning when you actually review them and you read why and you get new information. Also, for example, let's say you say, okay, I'm taking 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. study. Don't just read the book. Do something else, like get information. I don't know, if the doctor gave like a pamphlet, read that as well. Like if you stay more than 1 hour in one source or more than 2 hours, it gets repetitive and you get tired. You may be reading, but you're not digesting, you're not like comprehending. So for example, read for an hour, do a Cuban, review what you read before, because sometimes things have to sit in for a while in your head for them to come out. Like you'll be able to refer it and be comprehended and then understand. Visualize information. So there's a lot of like learning methods. Like there's people that are actually by sound, others by doing, others by seeing. But when you actually visualize information, it's very good because you don't only see it and you're able to remember it, but it's a way that you actually review things and see them in a segmented way, and then you can bring it all together. For example, it's important in a simple, summarized fashion. So it's good after you read your book, you can do it, or you can get it from some books, even bring it, and you can actually see it. And when you're able to explain a diagram, you know, I'm pretty sure you know the information. Breaks, very important. So every 40, it's proven that when you study more than 1 hour like straight, after the hour you're not learning anything. You have to take good breaks, you know, because it's not worth it if you take like, oh my God, I'm going to study 3 hours just sitting there studying. No, don't do that, that's stupid. Rather study 1 hour, it will be better than 3 hours straight. So just take your breaks because it varies after this period. Anything new after 1 hour and 30 minutes does not get assimilated. So always counting breaks, always, and always know when to stop. That's very important.
¿Cómo de qué tiempo los breaks?
15, 20 minutos. Something that worked for me, actually, when I was tired, I took 15 minutes nap with an alarm. And it's proven that 15-minute naps are perfect because you feel refreshed after, but you have to get right up. If you keep sleeping, you won't work. Because you are in that period between going into like a little deep sleep, but you don't get there, and it's kind of actually como que engañando yourself. I did that. Study groups. Study groups are actually son un arma doble filo. Because we love to be in study groups, but we don't do any study, we talk. So they are called review groups, not study groups. You know, like review. So they review groups. Because you first go home, you study everything from the book, and then you can go and discuss it. It's a way of saying the information differently, talking it out, discussing it, being able to see things that maybe we did not notice or we don't understand. But do not go to a study group 5 days before a test and be like, okay, so what's going on the test? You know, tell me, help me. No, that's not gonna work. You're just going to be like, like seeing something on Instagram or always what happens. Discussion. So it's good. It's 4 to 6 people, and always pick the members, accordingly. People that are going to be focused, are going to get their study, and are going to be interested and have a common goal. We want to ace this exam. Also for the step, I had like this study group that we got together on Saturdays, and we did study that for 5 hours, and we were people that we all wanted to take it, so we were like very focused on it, and we will discuss one chapter of the first day per day. And it actually, we discussed it, and after we talked, we talked or whatever, but the first 5 to 6 hours were literally just studying, because we all had this common goal, which was like, get it. Sleep well. So there will be days that you don't want to study, like you're really, 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 really tired. Literally, when you fail those days, don't study. Give yourself a day off. It's difficult, I know, but at least try to get 6 hours. Optimally 8. As I just previously said, 15-minute naps are actually optimal during the day. You need the REM cycle. Don't do all-nighters. Try to avoid them at all costs. All-nighters literally cost you the other day because you won't be working. You need your sleep. And actually, for example, you have a test that you have only studied half, and you want to spend all-nighter to study the other half. Go to bed and go to us with the other half, because I will assure you that you will do better with that first half than take it all nighter. Because you will maybe think better and you will have something in your mind. So, weekends, the best to cover material because you have all the time to yourself. Get up early. Don't get up like at 12 or at noon. Try to get up if you really are like decided to study or to take this step or like ace your physiology exam or your anatomy. Get up early, 8, 9 a.m. and start studying. Don't lie to yourself. You have to get up. And these are the best days. As medical students, we have no free time. We have no day break. Like we don't have our day free. Some days we may have it. but it's not usual. So try to take weekends and make the best of them. Saturday, Sunday is the best you can do. You start at 9 a.m., you're done by 8 p.m., and you can go out. Literally, you can go out, it's fine. It's something, I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but I learned. When you drink one night, you lose the whole other day. Learn that. Learn that. You lose the other whole day. You lose it completely. And you like go out and drink, and then you get home like at 5 a.m., you will lose the whole day. You won't be working, so forget about studying. Eat, finally have fun, as I just said. There's sometimes, like for example, if you guys finish parcial, but you still want to study for the steps or whatever, take 3 days off. You deserve a vacation. You deserve a break. Without breaks, like really, you're useless. So don't make it all about studying. It's healthy to do other things. You reward yourself for a long week of studying. You may take a day off. You may take a night off. You may go to some party or whatever. But that's very important. Something that is not covered here. If you guys wanna ideally take that USMLE or whatever, vacations, try to study. Literally, those are the best. Those are the times that you're going to advance the most in your studying. Literally, vacations are the best. Those 2 or 3 weeks you get, you can cover a lot of material. Getting up at 8 a.m. and studying 10 hours a day, it's perfect. Literally, it was a time where I haven't had a vacation for 4 semesters, but it's been the best because I actually got to cover all my material when I couldn't. And como que fijar todo that I got segmented through the semester. Always do it. But what I did was that, for example, I took the first 3 days off. I've been at the new semester. I deserve to have some days off. But then I would just sit down and write it till I start the semester. And it works. But you have to make time, and everything's possible. You just have to make time and make a decision to do it. 8 semesters, 7 semesters, for those that want to go to the United States, are the best semesters to start and be able to graduate with all your steps. It's the best way to start, and you can study concomitantly with your classes. For example, I did physiology with my physiology class, and it was perfect. I was studying the same thing for my exam and for my exam. And it was literally perfect. In the 10th semester, it all comes together, and you can take it in the 11th or the 12th. If you want to do it, start now, and don't, this time right now is the best time. In pre-internado, it gets messy, because hospitals literally you get up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m., you're tired. And then you have to go to class until 7 p.m. It's very tiresome, and you have to study a lot of material. It's not even just one book, you have to read a lot of stuff. So this is the best time. Don't go I'll see an internado and start, but don't do that. Literally try to study now. Start now if you want to get there. So that's it. Thank you for your time.